gonna draw while I do this one. I can find the right page. A couple of years ago, I got a call from my mom asking how I was doing, just catching up. And at a certain point, she mentioned that she was reading a book. And oftentimes, it's something my mom and I will do, is we recommend books to each other. And this time she recommended, I lost my pen. This time she recommended a book that she had read called Grit. And basically the premise of Grit is how hard work will outperform intelligence 99% of the time. And so I decided to read this book because my mom had recommended it. And come to think about it for a second, I was kind of questioning why my mom would recommend that book to me. I guess maybe she thinks that I'm stupid. But no, I'm just kidding. I've read many books since then, but that book I still come back to every once in a while because I think there's a lot of interesting truths in that book about life and about success. So the book was written by some scientist who went through like West Point and all of that. Super intelligent person. And I think the thing that I think of the most when I think about that book is there was a study done that the author follows where there was a professor at a university, and I tried to find this again. I don't have the book anymore. I tried to find the study itself, but essentially there was a professor and a researcher a long time ago in the 70s or 80s who had this idea that if he could collect all students in his area or his college that were hyper intelligent, so all the students that were considered geniuses who took IQ tests and scored, I think it's like 160 to 180 or 140 or whatever. 100 is the average. So if you're watching this, if 100 people watch this, the average of your IQs would probably, well, because you're watching my video, it would be like 130, but the average IQs are about 100 in the United States. So he had this brilliant idea that, okay, if super intelligent people are super intelligent, then their lives should be significantly different than everybody else's. And so he got these while they were young. He got them fresh, and he created a group. And I can't remember the professor's name or the scientist's name. It was like Anderson or something. And so his group was called like Anderson's Geniuses or Anderson's Supers. Somebody tell me in the comments if you know this story. So you can correct me, because I was trying to find it and I couldn't find it. So essentially, he got them while they were young in college, and this big lifetime study was that he was going to track all of these students across time. And his hypothesis was that at the end of his study, he would see that all 100 of his students, or however many it was, I think it was probably around 100, would, by the time that they were fully adults, grown up with careers and families, that they would be wildly successful. They would be CEOs of tech companies, and they would be heads of the states and heads of the governments, and they would be inventors, and they would be extravagant entrepreneurs and business people. And this was his plan. So he spent his entire life following these kids. And at the end of the study, after I think 40 plus years of running this study, now the professor is an old decrepit man, he found that none of those students, he found that all of those students went on to live significantly average lives. They all made average, varying amounts of money. They all had average houses and average careers. And so I think the point of that message is that if you are watching this video and you are of average intelligence, or slightly below average intelligence, or slightly above average intelligence, that doesn't mean that you aren't going to be successful. Your intelligence on paper does not dictate how far you get in life. Certainly, if you are of a really below average intelligence or something, you're mentally impaired, even then. So I think about this study a lot because I have never taken an IQ test. I probably never will because I don't want to know. I don't want to have a presupposition that, or a pre-expectation of my success in life. Because number one, it doesn't really matter that much. And two, I don't want any mental barriers to tell me like, you get an offer to do a good job and then you have even worse imposter syndrome because you're like, well, I only have a 101 IQ and average people that work in this field have 120. So I feel like I'm gonna make a fool of myself. So I probably will never take an IQ test. Maybe when I'm like old and I've already done what I need to do. But if you have already taken an IQ test, if you were forced to take one in school or something, or you were just interested, and you got a result that you didn't like, just know that it probably doesn't matter as much as you think it does. Maybe in conversation and in like memory recall and stuff that is useful from day-to-day life, but the premise of the book is basically, it doesn't take a genius to do something great. You can be a kind of a dummy and you can do something really simple for a long enough time and stick with it, and you can have success. Just think of how many people are running lawn care businesses, mowing lawns, or painting businesses. You think the person that owns a successful painting company isn't super rich, or not super rich, but they got a lake house in fucking Wisconsin or something? Do you think that guy has 160 IQ? He might. He might also have a 95 IQ. Because how hard is it to mow a lawn? It's not very hard, but how many lawns need to be mowed? All of them. So those guys probably started just mowing lawns for somebody, and then they went, hey, I've saved up enough money, I could buy my own lawnmower, and I have got customers, I'm gonna do this on my own. And then they do that for 30 years, and at the end of those 30 years they go, oh damn, I haven't mowed a lawn in 10 years. I've got my own guys that I pay decent money to do it for me. And honestly, I think sometimes being less intelligent is more of an advantage. Because I think about Forrest Gump a lot. And maybe I'm going over on this video, but I think about Forrest Gump and the analogy for life and how he was a dumb guy. He was like a 65 or 70 IQ, really dumb guy. It's a movie. But he just went along with life and he had no worries ever. And he just did everything, each and everything that came to him. He did everything, somebody would tell him what to do and he would do it, and he would do it to his best ability, and he would commit himself to any little thing that he did to do it the best that he could. And in the end of that movie, he's, you know, a multi-billionaire international success story because he just let life happen to him, and he did everything that he was told to do to the best of his ability. And he never quit anything. And so then contrast that with like Jenny, who was probably an average or above average girl. She was constantly searching for something to fill the void in her life, which obviously she had a bad start, but she was constantly searching for a way to fill the void, and she thought that she deserved something that wasn't ever given to her. And so by the end of the movie, she fucking, you know, dies penniless. And I think that we can relate that to our lives. If you're constantly searching for a void to fill because you just you think that you deserve something else that you're not getting right now, because I think that comes with a general amount of intelligence, is you can imagine a future, you can project your life out further and go, well, I could have this, why don't I have that? And with Forrest Gump, everything was right here in front of him, every single thing. You want to play football? Sure, I'll play football as best as I can. Okay, do you want to go to the military? Yeah, I'll be the best soldier because I was told to do that. And then it just keeps compounding because he just stuck to things forever. And that's the premise of the book, is just do something long enough and hard enough to where you build traction and you get success. I really think that's the key to life. And you go read that book. It's a good book about this topic. I mean, the author, she can explain this. You know, she explains this way better than I ever could. I didn't really draw anything. Sort of this letter. It's kind of nice. Yeah, go read that book. It's a good book. And yeah, like this video or whatever.